Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the xMonthly Secret Agent Briefing. Why Copilot for your AI agent future? I have the pleasure of being able to invite AJ Ansari here to our session today. He's one of the leading Microsoft MVPs around Business Central and has a tremendous amount of experience around AI Copilot and many different tools available on Microsoft. We're going to go ahead and jump into a session after we share a few updates on today's agenda for today's call. So again, xMonthly is a new organization. We're rapidly developing, making things available. We've actually built out several different enhancements for our marketing mix and our secret agent briefings. We also have our CSP briefings as well that we'll jump into a little bit further here today. Additionally, again, I wanted to bring in AJ Ansari. He's going to share some great into why you need Copilot for your AI agent future. We'll dig into specific examples, ways to save money, why you need to do this now, and all the benefits associated with the Microsoft Cloud Solution Stack. So to kind of go through really quickly with our site enhancements, when you do have a chance to go through, we've relaid out the homepage. And we've made it much more clear on what we're trying to achieve with our partners and our agents. Now, applies the value of Microsoft 365 and the Microsoft Cloud Stack. So if you want to learn more about AI and Copilot, we have our AI Copilot area. We also help our partners with Partner Center, helping uncover all the biggest benefits associated with being a Microsoft partner and all the benefits for clients to be able to take advantage of those different service offerings. And finally, we've relisted out our agent services. So you'll be able to find agent services around Business Central, AI, Copilot, and all those different tools, along with all the different agents that work with us here at xMonthly. Next up, we do have our monthly cadence that we do provide. On the first working Monday, we provide a marketing mix where we provide insights into marketing tactics and strategies. Well, with the enhancements there, we've now built out landing pages for each of our previous sessions, so you can dig in and learn more about those. Same thing with the secret agent briefings, and those are on the second Tuesday, which is today. And then finally, our CSP briefing. This is a Microsoft sanctioned event that allows for clients to learn more about AI and Copilot. We bring in a top-notch presenter to be able to provide that opportunity as well. So we do encourage everyone to kind of jump in and learn more. The cloud is changing fast, and being part of Microsoft and the partnership program, partners like AJ at DSWI, along with his MVP capabilities, we're happy to share with you today why you need a Copilot for your AI agent future. Again, each of those pages that we mentioned, Marketing Mix has their own landing pages. We had Anya in for the power of the pen. We had a live from direction session. SEO, John Rivers, as well as personal brand with Sam Bush. Again, further on with our secret agent briefings, we brought in Shannon to help with the VC opportunity. Shannon Mullins from a VC consulting organization. We talked about unique ways to discover AI technology funding. There's lots of opportunities for clients to repurpose some of their expenses to help fund their AI projects, which is really interesting. We brought in Michael Wall for our AI, the future of work. He's a VP of technology at the Twiddle Group, as well as a quick update from Live from Directions. Lastly, with our CSP briefing, these are available on demand. You're able to sign up for them or attend our live shows or even work with xMonthly to schedule a private briefing for your clients. So without much further ado, we wanted to bring in AJ to discuss more about some of the capabilities with why you need Copilot for your AI agent future. I'll go ahead and try to throw in a couple questions, but I'm going to get off screen and go quiet and have an opportunity to learn. AJ, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes here today.
It is my pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for having me on. And if you can see me, I briefly shut off my camera. I realize you're having some bandwidth troubles, what with being at the DynamicsCon live event. For anybody who's watching this before DynamicsCon and is going to be at DynamicsCon, I am presenting a topic on Copilot Studio on building agents on Thursday at, let me just double check that. I was thinking out loud, right at about 10 o'clock Central Time, or 9:45 in the Ballroom A West Tower Room. So if you're going to be there and you'd like to learn how to build agents, if you're inspired by this, by all means, come to that session. I think you'll find it quite valuable. I'm just returning back from Directions Asia out in Bangkok, where I did a session. We had kind of a filled out room. I think over 100 people. There was room for about 80. We had people standing room only at a 105-minute version of what we're going to be doing in about an hour here at DynamicsCon Live. As Jeff said, I'm AJ Ansari. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and one of the ownership partners at DSWI. Jeff and I go back a long way from my journey back at the Interdyne family of companies. I was a senior consultant at Interdyne CFO Consulting, and I believe, Jeff, you were at Rose ASB at that time. Is that right? Yep. So
Oh
I think
yes,
you're,
oh yes, even yes,
yeah.
it was good.
Right. And that journey, I think for me, led to Interdyne BMI, Columbus, and 6 years ago, I came to DSWI, and this has become my home since, and probably my home for the rest of my career, since I have a vested interest in this organization. I am also a Microsoft MVP, as Jeff pointed out. I like to kind of mention that yes, I am an expert on the products I talk about, but I think the MVP designation is more than just a recognition of skills and knowledge. It is that, but more importantly, it is also the I think most MVPs have a desired tendency and kind of a calling to learn and then to share the knowledge that they learn. And I think that's really what I feel is the most important about my role in this regard. I'm an evangelist for the products, and I spend a lot of time learning and then sharing my knowledge out with the community. And I think it's for the betterment of all of us. At DSWI, we are a Business Central focused partner. Our thing largest customer install base happens to be in that manufacturing, oil and gas midstream, and the seaport management space, where we have some intellectual property as well as a lot of kind of market and industry expertise. And then in Copilots and AI agent building, where we do boot camps, master classes, turnkey agents, as well as advisory services for other partners. I'm also at IAMCP. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. That's the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. That is one of three kind of endorsed partner organizations by Microsoft. If you go to the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Programs website and look at organizations that Microsoft supports, it's IAMCP, which I was just talking about, which globally has thousands of partners across North America, Latin America, Europe, Asia, and beyond. And then there is the Black Channel Partners Alliance in Women in Cloud. So IMCP is the only one that does not cater to a specific demographic and is welcome to all, open and welcome to all partner organizations, big and small. I used to be the Houston chapter president for many years and also the Americas vice president. Now, in my free time or spare time, which I have surprisingly some of, I have two projects that I've been involved with. One is onlycopilotfans.com. This is a news and how-tos type of information website on all things AI, Copilot, and Copilot Studio. So I focus on Microsoft technologies. You can go to onlycopilotfans.com for a lot of information. In fact, some of the things I'm going to be talking about today, there are entire articles written in detail on some of those topics. And then Only BC Fans is a podcast show type of kind of a media outlet that I've created that where I create podcasts interviewing on human interest topics with some of the best and well-known names in the Business Central world. So if you haven't checked out these two, I encourage you to go and check those out. And of course, the QR code up there that you're seeing, that's the best way to get a hold of me. That'll take you to my LinkedIn page. So why do you need Copilot for your AI agent future, right? Let's maybe talk a little bit about that. There are a lot of AI tools out there. I think just you have probably heard about ChatGPT more than anything else. I think so. If you who live in the Google ecosystem have heard about Gemini, you may have heard about Anthropic, you may have heard about Perplexity, and the solutions are plentiful. And it's not for a lack of solutions that we have one at Microsoft or that I'm suggesting you look at Copilot. But the one factor that distinguishes Copilot from all those other solutions that I talked about out there is that Copilot is the only one that is uniquely designed for businesses. It is the only one that is built with business and security in mind, while the other tools are primarily built for the consumer marketplace. They are not necessarily meant for organization-wide deployment. They're not meant for enterprises, mid-market companies, small businesses, schools, etc. So the way you'd kind of look at that as you distinguish is, I want you to think about the thing that you do every morning. Hopefully you don't have to log in anymore, but you kind of, or you don't have to enter your password anymore. But every morning when you get into your email, you have your work email. When you log into your computer, perhaps you have to enter the password for your for that same email because that is your organizational or your work email. When you get into Teams or you sign into another application at work, when you access SharePoint documents, when you any variety of things that you do in the workplace, from the moment you start your working day till the end of your working day, you live and breathe inside of it, and you kind of are associated with your Microsoft email. And that email that you have, that is part of your tenant, and that is part of your Azure Active Directory, or what is now known as Microsoft Entra. And that secures everything that the organization has. Your administrator, and if you are an administrator, you have a great appreciation for this. The administrators are limiting access to and giving access to different resources, be it files, be it kind of emails, be it other resources in the organization, by associating those permissions and access to your Microsoft Entra ID, which is your email. And when you deploy Copilot for Microsoft 365 for your organization or for your customer's organization, who hopefully are also using the Microsoft Entra ID, they're using Microsoft 365, Office 365 products. That same username and password is going to secure your access to these AI tools and services. So first of all that information that they're going to be uploading to this Copilot experience, the things that they're going to be doing, that will never leave your tenant. So you're going to be working securely inside of your tenant. Second, Microsoft has a commitment, and the commitment in so many words can be summarized as your enterprise data protection. And enterprise data protection guarantees that your data is secure, your data is encrypted, that your data is only going to be accessible by the people who have the rights and permissions to do so, and that Microsoft is never going to use your data to train the foundational LLM, to train the foundational AI model. And so if you are talking about your company, if you're talking about your customers with the conversational experience, if you're searching for files, none of those things are going to be taken and used to train that larger AI model that could then be used by somebody else outside of your org. And that is an important distinction. I can't stress that enough. When you're using ChatGPT, they do have their own security, but that is more at an individual level. It is really not meant for organizations. There is no Microsoft 365 or Entra ID or Azure AD authentication. The Microsoft email authentication they have over there is more of your Hotmail or Outlook emails, which is more of a personal Microsoft account and not a work or school account. So I can't, I keep going back to that again and again. The other part of it is, if you as an organization, if your customers as organizations are not creating opportunities for the team members to have access to and use AI tools in the workplace, it doesn't mean these employees are not going to use AI tools. It simply means they are going to BYO AI, bring your own AI. Much like in college, we used to bring your own beer to parties when people didn't have it. And then I think later in the workplace, we all became very familiar with the BYOD acronym, bring your own device to work, phones and tablets, etc. Now you're having the BYO AI syndrome, bring your own AI syndrome. And so as an organization, it is, I can't stress enough, it is so important to have a playbook on the tools that they can use, and how they can use that tool, right? So creating, just like most organizations will have an employee manual or an employee handbook, a guide that will define acceptable use policies. I think in this day and age, folks have kind of acceptable use policies for social media, acceptable use policies for the web. In the past, people would be blocked from accessing various websites. Now, I think most employers just let people browse as long as as long as they're doing it within acceptable, kind of boundaries. And so think about that for your organization, or if you're deploying this for your customers. How do you create an experience that allows for that and allows for the use of AI tools? And then the how, there's a couple different things in there with the how. And one of the things I want to highlight there, and Jeff, maybe you're coming in for a question. I see you've magically appeared, and that is the process of rolling out when a customer is buying Copilot for M365 licenses. So I'll give you the example of what we do at DSWI. If you're going to secure Copilot for M365 licenses from us, unless you absolutely insist on just getting licenses, we normally recommend a onboarding service, and that service is a 5-step service. And step 3 is assigning licenses. Step 1 is first understanding the different people in the organization and what their use goals are going to be. How can we train them and provide them the right tools and the ability to achieve what they need to do in their roles? The CFO wants something else, salesperson wants something else, etc. Second step is to secure the data. Make sure that the data that they're going to have that their people are going to ask about have the right permission sets on it. That a salary file is not just sitting around without proper permissions that somebody can ask about and get a number. That irrelevant information is not there, because when you ask questions, if you have a file from 2012, and that's a file that contains some information about a certain question you're asking, it may surface. So how do you kind of sort and keep those out? Step 3 is assigning licenses. Step 4 is detailed training. And step 5 is, in case the team is interested in something called declarative agents, which I'll get into later, we'll also teach them how they can make personal and declarative agents to enhance that experience. Jeff, was there a question from you?
Yeah, thanks, AJ. I was just thinking about some of the concepts that you're mentioning there. Bring your own device, bring your own AI. You know, Many people have multiple accounts that they log into. So I've got my live account, I've got my work account, I've got other accounts that I log into, even customer accounts. When I'm using Edge, I have that little icon on the top right that's Copilot. It's pretty pervasive. It's everywhere. How do you how do users actually segment their personal stuff away from entering the business environment, or are there risks associated with that?
Very good question. Well, I'll start from I think the last part of the question. To some extent, we see a bleed over of personal stuff into the workspace. There was a time where people would have a personal laptop and a work laptop. I'm sure some people still do, but for the most part, the average employee is probably using their work computer to check their emails, pay their bills, and do some of those things. Now, if you have a side project, right? If you kind of have something else that you're doing, and or if you want to engage in something that your work doesn't allow you to go to, like you want to check on Facebook and your workplace policy forbids you from going there, then you might want to use your device. But to answer your question, since you brought up Edge, I have a phenomenal answer. You see over in Edge, right where you see the the Copilot icon, right next to it, you'll also see an icon. Let me bring this up on my screen here. You can also see a little person icon, might be a gray person head, might be something over here, depending on how it's configured. And this can allow you to set up multiple profiles. And so if you notice over here, I too have a personal profile. And so when I want to do my personal things, I keep that separate. And then I have a work profile. Now, because I'm a partner organization, I also help some of my other clients. And so you notice I had multiple profiles in there, and some of those were profiles that I have associated with those clients. And the beauty is that when I switch my browser profile from one to the other, everything in that particular window is in the context of that profile. Right now, I'm in my only BC fans, so this is kind of where I do the blogging and some of the other resources that I have. It's also where my Microsoft MVP things are tethered to. But if I want to go to my DSWI window, now, oops, I probably don't want to keep my my emails up, but I was searching for emails from Jeff, so it's all safe. But that was my DSWI window, and everything in there are my DSWI bookmarks. When I log into a service, it automatically remembers that I'm logging into a DSWI service. So that's a good way to keep things separated. So
Thank
continue
you.
on with the presentation. Go ahead, Jeff.
Appreciate that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying thank you. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yep. So, yep, I did kind of decide to be a little braver. Yep, this is all Jeff's emails. So, for a second, I worried that maybe there were some confidential things out there, like how I won the $10 million lottery, right? I wouldn't want people knowing about that. So, as we get into the Copilot adventure, let's go back to the slide for a second. The first part that we were talking about is a tool called Copilot for Microsoft 365. This is where Jeff was just talking about earlier, the icon in the browser. So you can use this, and this opens up the Copilot chat experience. Most of us think of Copilot, and then we think of the chat experience, and that has the work and the web context. Work context basically allows you to work with things that are in your SharePoint, in your Teams. So if I want or do things with other people in my team, if I wanted to find something from Kyle, I could say find emails from Kyle, right? I could start typing in, or that was actually from Kyle this way. It's from Kyle Collins, and then I could kind of put in a few other details and it could find all the information that I'm looking for. And then web is my Copilot chat experience grounded on the web. So this is basically the secure equivalent of your Copilot, Chat GPT, Gemini, etc. type of experience. There's also a similar experience, by the way. You don't see my taskbar here, but there's a standalone app that you can download on Windows called the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, which gives you the same work and web context. I'll come back to some things on the right-hand side over here that are called declarative agents a little bit later today. Or you can also get there by simply typing in m365copilot.com. So these experiences, these are a few different ways, excuse me, to get to the core Copilot experience. The other experience that Microsoft offers in the suite of Copilot for M365 is when you're in Outlook, or when you're in Word, when you're in Excel, when you're in PowerPoint, etc., you'll have similar Copilot experiences that allow you to create documents, to maybe analyze data, to do certain things in an automated fashion, etc. So there are Copilots in all facets of the Office 365, Microsoft 365 family of apps. Now, where I want to go from there is into Copilot Studio. And so Copilot Studio is the experience where you can create AI experiences, AI agentic experiences. And for anybody who hasn't been hearing Microsoft talk at conferences about Copilot and agents in the past, I'll kind of repeat a refrain from them that comes up again and again. And that is, every person will have a Copilot, and every job function or department will have agents. And you may see organizations with hundreds or maybe even thousands of agents as time goes on by. And that may seem very daunting, but the way these agents will work is the agents will be able to talk to each other and uncover and do the things that they need. So your Copilot is your assistant. It does things for you in your voice. So your Copilot can help you find an email. In Outlook, your Copilot can compose an email response for you. In Word, it can compose a job description or an executive summary for a document you're working on, etc. But the agents are conversational experiences where if you wanted information about X, Y, or Z, or if you wanted to maybe log a PTO request, if you wanted to initiate a kind of an escalation or so on, there could be an agent for each of those different tasks. And as you go through your day, you would just trigger the correct agent, or you would simply ask the question in Copilot, and it would in turn find the right agent to do that for you. And so that's kind of that story. And Copilot Studio is a tool that will allow people to create those agents. It's not the only tool, but it is the tool that's getting a lot of attention from Microsoft. And the reason for that being it is a low code, no code tool. It's a lot like the Power Apps. Power Automate, Power BI, Power Pages experience from Microsoft, the Power Platform family, which Microsoft pushes really hard because unlike pro developer tools, these are tools that can be used by the citizen developer, but they're also capable of a lot of complexity. So while there are other tools that allow you to create your own AI experiences, Copilot Studio is the go-to experience that Microsoft is heavily focused on. Now, I did mention over here Copilot Chat versus Copilot from Microsoft 365. There are a couple of distinctions that I will kind of identify here. Copilot Chat is for anybody. If you have a customer, let me kind of open up one of my dummy guest profiles where there's a user who does not actually have a paid license of Copilot Studio at all, or rather of Copilot for Microsoft 365. So let's go up here. I'm going to bring my web browser over. Oh, this was, give me 1 second. All right, so I'm in a different tenant here in a browser. This is an educational tenant that we use within our organization to train our consultants. And I'm going to go to m365copilot.com or just my office, kind of tenant area. Don't worry about the area. It should let me come back in and authenticate. This is the experience that somebody gets with your organizational login when they don't have a paid license of Microsoft 365 Copilot. It is just Copilot Chat. So they can still securely, you see the shield over here, noting that they're covered by enterprise data protection, and you can read more about here. That over here from this link, it talks about Microsoft's responsible AI policies and the commitment to responsibility and security. But the experience over here is simply the web grounded experience, which is Copilot Chat. Whereas when there is an organization that has users with paid Copilot for M365 licenses, notice that their conversations will have a work and a web context. The web context is just like you were seeing over here. Answers are grounded in the web. The work context will allow them to engage with information from your workplace, as well as utilize the Copilot experience in Word and in Excel and in Outlook, PowerPoint, OneNote, etc. That list goes on and on and on. So you'll see the Copilot, experience over here, the Copilot experience in the ribbon, in the document, etc. Now, there's also a third Copilot experience that I just want to briefly highlight, and we won't talk about it again. And that is just sold and offered as Copilot. And that is also a consumer-facing offering from Microsoft. It is just called Copilot or Microsoft Copilot. There's no 365 in there. It's not called Copilot Chat. This is just a friendly consumer-facing experience that people log into with your Outlook or Outlook.com or Hotmail.com type of email addresses. It does not connect into the workplace, does not provide the same level of enterprise data protection. And so think of it as the tool for home users. And why I don't talk about it very much beyond the brief introduction is that you as partners and I as a partner are not able to sell these. Much in the same way you're not able to sell home versions of Office and so on, we're not able to sell this at all. We are only able to sell Copilot from Microsoft 365 licenses because they are part of the CSP list, kind of set of things. The other home experiences are sold directly by and fulfilled directly by Microsoft to the consumer. Now, going back to Copilot Studio, which you can navigate to copilotstudio.microsoft.com, is an experience where you can create your agents. So just briefly look at it. This is not a place for me to start building agents and kind of creating agents from scratch. In fact, like I said before, if you're at DynamicsCon Live, you should definitely consider coming to my session on Thursday if you're interested in learning how to build agents. But what I will do is give you a quick walkthrough of an environment that I have some agents in. So this is the building environment. Here I can see all the agents that I've built. Let me just go ahead and go through. So there are some agent templates from Microsoft. And here are some agents that I've built. If I were to go and explore one of the agents that I built, you will see that I'm able to create an AI-powered agent that is both grounded in certain knowledge documents that I provide. So this agent is meant to rather answer questions about Business Central capabilities from some guides from the Microsoft Learn Dynamics 365 website, from another guide on Business Central API references that's written by another MVP. These two books are written by Eric Hogard, who's an MVP, and Jeremy Viska, who's an MVP as well. So it can answer questions about, but the agent is also connected into Business Central. So you see, it's got the ability to find Business Central records or create records in Business Central, etc. And it's got these starter prompts where the user can get some helpful guidance on what the agent is capable of doing, etc. And it has a whole lot more in the way of power. And you see, there's some instructions we've created when we created the agent, and these instructions are actually followed by the agent. So if I were to say, assist the customer service representatives with questions about how to perform tasks in Business Central and understand its functionality, it gets context on what's supposed to do. Or it says format all outbound emails in HTML. So when it sends an email, it'll make sure it automatically puts everything in HTML. Or always add the signature on outbound emails. Or when there are monetary values, make sure you're applying a dollar sign and the comma formatting, etc. Make sure they're 2 decimal points, etc. So these instructions are actually listened to. I'm going to do a quick kind of a demo of this, but before I do, I want to make sure that my connections, since I'm in a development environment here, let's make sure that my connections are still all working. Yeah, sometimes in demo environments, your connections go stale.
Hey AJ, while this is loading, there was a question that did come in. It might be here on these screens or it might be somewhere else, but can you turn off Copilot in Business Central?
Copilot in Business Central, the one that Microsoft has created. No, there you can choose not to use it. There are features that you can disable, but I think the core Copilot agent chat, I believe it is enabled for sure. But there, if you're just talking about in Business Central disabling, let me see if I can very quickly go. There is a feature that has been added into 26.1, I believe. But that is just as a point of information. It's outside of our context for what we're talking about today, but I'll just briefly jump in here. So you see over here, Copilot and agent capability. So yeah, you can also disable chat. I thought this one could not be disabled, but come in here, you can select each of the things and you can disable them. All right. But what I was creating here and what we were talking about, these are agents that are being created by you to connect into Copilot. And the way you would work with them is from Teams or from inside of Copilot. So over here, this is that agent I've created. And so I can ask it questions about Business Central. I say, how can I create a new fixed asset record in Business Central? And so the answer for this is going to come not from the World Wide Web, not from this document or that document, but just the ones that I provided. So if you had your own unique knowledge guides, etc., it would come from there. Or in this case, it's going to come from the combination of the books and the Dynamics 365 Microsoft Learn site. So it'll give me all the information on how it's done. Oh, something happened here. So probably just a connection reset. So let's go ahead and have it generate that answer one more time. So there it came up with the whole answer. It gave me some citations on where this information came from. So I know that this is coming from legitimate places that I've specifically, allowed it to look at. So if I click on one of these citations, it will show me the specific document that it got the information from. Or if I went back and I asked it questions like from my prompts, right, show me a list of customers from Business Central. I could have typed that out as well, but by creating some prompts, it makes the customer's life a lot easier. So here I'm saying, show me a list of all customers in tabular format. Now this should connect into Business Central. And this should get me a list of my customers from BC. Clearly something is going on here where some of these answers are generating and then getting interrupted. Probably just a bad connection day. And I'm also in just as a point of information, when I develop these, I'm in a sandbox in a preview environment, and preview environments by definition are just unstable. So when we build these experiences for deployment, customers, we're not using preview builds, we're only using production environments. So while it comes up with this answer, it's able to connect into Business Central. It's able to get these answers for you. It's able to do things like send emails out. And when it sends an email out, it can, prompt the user for some information on who to send it to, or it can grab your email, etc. So these types of experiences can be very powerful. So here we go. It starts to come up with this answer again. So while it's doing this, let's go back into my kind of PowerPoint slide deck here and talk about a few things. Licensing requirements. Now, licensing comes in two different flavors. One is licensing for the Copilot for Microsoft 365 that we were talking about right here, this work and web experience. This in the United States is a very simple $30 per user per month, provided you are getting this in the annual commitment, annual billing. Anything in the new commerce experience for CSP, you'll find there's a consistent pricing mechanism. The price that they typically at Microsoft typically advertises on your website and publicly advertises is a price that is shown as divided by 12 months, but what you're actually paying is the annual price for an annual commitment. So they may say it's $30 a user a month, but if you look at the fine print, what it's basically saying is it comes to $30 a user a month. What you're paying is $360 a user a year. Now, if you wanted to pay monthly, there's two ways, and this is meant to be a full CSP session, but I'll just, for the sake of argument here, to kind of explain a couple of things. If you are getting the annual license but paid on a monthly commitment, you pay 5% more. So it would be not $30. It would actually come to, I believe, $31.50 if I'm doing my 5% calculation correctly. So it's going to be 5% more than what it would be for annual commitment, annual billing. And if you do month to month, then it's 20% more. So and the Copilot Studio, or rather the Copilot for Microsoft 365, at least the last time I checked, was not available in the month-to-month format. It was only available in annual billing, annual commitment, and annual billing, monthly billing, annual commitment format. So that is the licensing for that. Now, building your agents, how is that built? Copilot Studio, what is the billing for that? Well, Microsoft has two models. The simplest answer that I want to highlight here is you actually do not have to pay a penny to build agents. Creating agents, working in this designer environment that I was in earlier, where I was showing you the kind of creating your own agent experience, accessing this is free. Testing it in my testing area over here is free. Probably how is a service item created or something like that. These types of things, this you can test to your heart's content. This is all free. But if you do want to deploy this somewhere, then you may want to choose where it's deployed. And depending on where you're deploying it, etc., there may be a cost. So now how does that work? Let's go back into channels here. So you could choose to deploy something in Teams and Microsoft 365 Copilot, or Facebook, web app, etc., etc. So all these different ways that you can choose to deploy your agent. When you deploy it, it's not the act of deploying that creates a cost. It is when the users start asking questions in a deployment that drives the cost. And the measurement for these conversations is in the way of messages. So Microsoft measures them in units that are called messages. Now, each response from the agent could be as little as one message. One message is if you have created a very specific manual answer under something called topics, and you said, when this question is asked, give this answer. So that answer takes one message. If the answer is coming from the agent deciding by looking at, like I showed you the activity map just now, that looks through all of my knowledge sources and then decides where it's going to get the answer from, etc., that can be more than one message. It could be at least two messages, or it could be many, many more. If you are using this agent with users who have paid Copilot for Microsoft 365 licenses, they use fewer messages and a lot of things are free. If you're not, if you're putting this on Facebook, on Slack, on your website, then you pay a little bit more. So how much is a message worth, you're going to ask? Well, a message is worth typically 1 cent. If you buy a packet of messages, Microsoft does sell this for people who want to get Copilot Studio licenses with the kind of a packet of 25,000 messages. They offered that for a little less than a cent a message. That pack sells for about $200 a month. And it's not for users because it is not meant for use by one user. Messages can be used by anybody who's engaging with an agent. So where I was using it in the kind of Copilot for M365 experience, let's assume for a second I'm in Teams. And in Teams, I could have multiple people in my organization, or I'm deploying it on the web, and I could have multiple people on my website who are accessing it, right? So it doesn't count by the users, it simply counts by the messages. And so Microsoft has a billing rates document on Copilot Studio. So you already know from what I've told you before, a message costs 1 cent unless you're buying a pack of 25,000 messages. Microsoft sells that for $200 and that expires in 1 month. That doesn't roll over. So whether you use it or not, that is lost. If you're doing as a message pack, wonderful, you prepay them. If you do not want to do that, you pay as you go. So Microsoft will require the customer or you to set up your credit card information in Azure, and it would kind of log all the things that are happening. And at the end of the month, you would see a bill for it. Just like with anything else in Azure, you can set a cap so you don't end up going broke over Copilot Studio usage, right? So you can make sure that you're not going over whatever your budget is. So you can set a cap by an environment. You can set a cap by across all environments that you have, etc. This is a good quick overview. So a classic answer is when you teach the agent to give a specific answer to a specific question. That is just one message. A generative answer where AI kind of looks through things and gives a message answer, that's two messages or 2 cents. Agent action, these are more complex where it runs an action to connect into Business Central or some other system. That could be 5 messages and so on and so forth. And you will notice that a lot of these actually have no charge for users who have Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses. As a partner, then, you might want to look a little bit closer when your customer wants to build agents and guide them that if the users are their own employees and if they have purchased M365 Copilot or subscriptions, rather, M365 Copilot subscriptions, that it would probably be more favorable for them when they're using agents. If they're not using those, then they will they don't have those paid licenses for Copilot for M365, then that usage will be billed in this way. At the end of the day, I find it's not cost prohibitive. Where the cost can really go up is if you're deploying this on your website and you have hundreds of customers who are coming to your website and asking questions. And even then, the reality is when you're sitting down and doing a proper assessment with the customer and understanding that if there's that much traffic coming into the website, chances are before your customer had that agent, they were paying a human to answer all those questions. And a human's salary could be not in the 5,000s or just $10,000. It could be 40, 50, 60, or even higher, a year. So you could find that using an agent, while it could run up a bill, may still be considerably less expensive and more favorable monetarily than hiring another full-time employee or a part-time employee to manage questions coming in from the website. So when somebody's putting them on those types of environment websites, etc., and they're putting into heavy use, you do want to sit down and have that conversation with the customer, understanding what the cost might be so they're realistically planning for that. Again, I think compared to a lot of other solutions out there, it is not cost prohibitive. It's just understanding the purpose. The average agent that people are going to build are probably going to be very inexpensive and really won't cost more than a few $100s a month. Now, coming back to my slide again, I've talked about licensing requirements for Copilot for M365. I said $30 a user a month, $360 a user a year. Copilot Studio, it is basically free or there is no license required, but it is when the Copilot Studio agents are deployed that the billing occurs. And to that end, Microsoft will either allow people to get Copilot Studio licenses that have prepaid 200, or rather 25,000 messages for $200 a month. Or you can do pay as you go, where you put your credit card or your customer puts your credit card and it bills through Azure. The meter runs every month, and then at the end you find out what you've spent, and you can put a cap or you can set a budget so it doesn't exceed that budget or quota. So moving along then from there, I want to talk about some examples of things that we've developed with Copilot Studio. And I've taken intentionally 3 different levels. The simplest level, and it is still quite valuable, was an HR benefits assistant. In fact, we too use our own dog food there. And our benefits assistant is simply grounded in knowledge. There is no unique connectors. It is simply pointing to a set of files that we have in our SharePoint. And those files are our various human resources related documents. Some of those files are Word documents. Some of those files are Excel spreadsheets. Some of those files are PDFs that have tables and all kinds of complicated stuff on them. And it does a pretty good job of indexing all of those. So if your customers have those, it'll work fine. And what that does is it allows the user to interact and quickly get some answers without always having to disturb the HR person. So here is an example. This is an outdated version of our benefits agent that I intentionally leave around for demos now. So we had some information. We had a telemedicine app, and our users would frequently want to know, our employees want to know how to use the telemedicine app or how to download that. So they would be able to go in here and they could ask, and it would go look in the documents, and it would be able to find answers on how to connect to it, where to get the information on the app. So that the answer gets done, and it will kind of point them to the flyer for the telemedicine service. I would otherwise be fielding a few of these emails once a month, and it's usually late in the evening when somebody's child is sick, or somebody's spouse isn't feeling well, or maybe they want to know about our dental coverage plan and something along those lines. Again, what's covered, what is not covered, etc. All of those types of things, they can ask either one of these pre-framed questions, or they can type in their question. It's a natural language query agent, right? So they're not limited to only doing the things or asking the things that are pre-written there. So this is simple. These types of knowledge agents can be extremely beneficial. While I'm talking about this, I'll highlight another use case where I provided some advisory services on, but didn't develop. And that is with a coworker's spouse who's in the education field, and she works with special needs kids. And in special needs education, there are a lot of different rules that apply. There are federal rules, there are state rules, and then there are the school district rules. And each of those rules are documented in large guides, many volumes, and you have to understand the context for each of those. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of experience to be able to answer questions about that. And so even the people that know, it's almost like going to a kind of your lawyer who has that big encyclopedia of books behind them. And so you may know, but you often want to verify, and verification takes time. And so in the case of that particular situation, we were able to connect to the different web resources as well as PDF type of resources from the publicly available government resources that are there, websites, PDF documents from the government, etc. And then with a little bit of some fine tuning on how to guide certain questions towards certain documents to ensure that it's only looking in those context specific areas for specific contexts, we were able to then get some very, very valuable results. So again, these are knowledge agents. So very simple to build. Speaking of knowledge agents, Microsoft has also created some wonderful abilities for the user to make their own knowledge agents if they're in Copilot for Microsoft 365 and they're paid users. So they could come in here and they could create a new agent themselves, say create an agent. This is some quick value that you can impart for your customers and be a superhero. Just come in here, you can describe what type of agent you want to build or configure by simply pointing to, give it some instructions in a description and simply pointing to some files. And it could be a file, a website, or it could be something on SharePoint. And so you can put in some starter prompts, and then that agent is ready to use. Now, these agents are personal agents. As an example of that, this is a personal agent that I built. Let me actually go back here and edit and show you a personal agent that I built. Just go back here. Didn't want to click there. Yep, this is what I want to create. So BC Agent, this was one that I created simply by following those steps and then was able to answer questions about Business Central. Or when I go to create agent, I can also edit BC Agent and I can see everything that was done. So brief description, some instructions, pointing to some knowledge sources, the NAV 2009 training guides, some questions, and that's it. This entire agent took no more than 5 minutes to create. And this is the type of thing you as a partner can teach end users at your customers to build it for themselves. These are personal agents and they're created by the user. They can be shared with people, but it's just a quick, simple experience. Another type of knowledge agent, again, a quick win for you. When you're trying to get this offer Copilot for M365, you can make a few of these a staple of your conversations. So in SharePoint, if you have some documents that you've got in here, like our benefits folder, for instance, where we keep all of our benefits documents, I could quickly create an agent here. So go to my documents area. Provided you have a paid license of Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can select a file or two or three or an entire folder and click on create an agent. And at that point, you simply describe what you want the agent to do, or this agent was previously built. So in this case, I'm just going to edit. You can describe what you want it to do, just validate the sources that are there and any other behavior, etc. And then the agent is ready for use in SharePoint, or you can share this in Teams as well, so people can be talking to them and asking questions, can create frequently asked questions documents, summarize key highlights, etc. So these are some very quick wins that cost nothing for you to create, but it adds tremendous amount of value for the customers, right? And of course, on top of that, you can build custom agents and so on. Agent BC, this is actually what you saw earlier when I was showing you in Microsoft Teams and when I was showing you in the Copilot chat. This is a play or a dummy version, dummy down, watered down version of Agent BC, which is basically short for the Business Central agent. And this agent was built to be able to retrieve information from Business Central. The story behind this is in companies that are using Business Central, the users will often want questions about BC. How do I do this? How do I do that? What is this? So it answers those questions. It can retrieve some information from various tables, and the focus on this was on the selling side of the business. So lists of customers, being able to find customer balances, being able to email customers about their balances, being able to analyze customer sales behavior, et cetera, et cetera. So we've created a lot of that. And then for users within the organization to schedule meetings with customers or with other team members. So this is the larger story that was created around this particular agent BC, and this is a more of a watered down one. I think in the final version, we also had some stuff around vendors that was added, and we continue to evolve and make this available to people. Now, the third agent that is out there as well that we've created is Business Central Support Desk. Now, the beauty of this support desk is that it runs unattended. So you can have this support desk connected to Dynamics 365 customer service or Zendesk or something else, but we've deployed this to a custom built support desk management capability inside of Business Central. So some custom tables there, but this can be connected to any backend system. So what this does is it is first hooked into knowledge articles that are written inside of, or that are kind of, paired with the agent that is created. And when the user sends an email out to the support desk, that support desk will read the email and it will find information from the various supporting web sources that are available to it, and it will provide answers to the user unattended. And it can also log tickets inside of Business Central. When the user replies back with my question has been answered, it can close out the ticket. If the user asks some other questions about it, it can further answer or escalate that ticket. So I'll show a very quick, in the interest of time, I'm looking at it, I'm kind of coming up against time. So instead of doing a live demo on that, why don't I just show from a kind of a dummy box the things that have happened in here. So John is a support dummy user that we have kind of a script over here. Let me just find from my demonstration environment here really quick, and then I'll bring the window up. So John sends an email to the support desk when they're trying to post an invoice in Business Central. They get an error stating it's outside of their posting date range. How can they fix the issue? And then John got an automated email back from the Business Central support desk, where it looked through the documentation, uncovered what the issues might be, and provided some information back. Also, then there was some more back and forth, but I'll kind of jump directly to the part where John goes, I'm really not getting the help I need. Can you escalate this ticket? So there's some back and forth that you can see that's happened. So now when the agent got the last email, it basically then decided, all right, it's high time, escalated to a support manager and copied all the information below from previous communication and also updated the support ticket. So these types of autonomous behaviors can allow your business to run more smoothly. It can truly create a replacement for or a supplement for a human agent. So imagine the types of benefits your customers can gain by and the time savings and the cost savings they can by using agents like these. So realizing the value in each of those cases, that first example, knowledge agents about benefits or those agents that the user is able to create, they're typically called declarative agents. And the goal of those agents is to extend the native capability of the Microsoft 365 Copilot so that they can answer a little more than just some of the core questions they know out of the box. The second type of agent that we've created, those agents, the highlight of those agents is that they're able to connect into a lot of different systems. They're able to connect into Business Central. They're able to connect into Outlook. They're able to connect into your, other ancillary systems that may be there and perform tasks that a user would typically perform, or at the bidding of a user, they would be able to perform those tasks. And the third value that we kind of demonstrated is autonomous agents. They're a little more expensive to create, require a little bit more work, but once created, it's amazing what they can do for the customer's business. It truly replaces, I think, and at least lowers the burden on your human resources within the team, and it creates that next level of automation. For those of you who are Business Central users, you've probably seen the latest demos from Microsoft in Business Central, the sales order agent. That follows a very similar mechanism, but that's made in Business Central, whereas these autonomous agents don't have to be related to Business Central at all. I just happen to tell a story where it does tie into Business Central. So really, if you are not, as a partner, focused on telling these stories, if you're first not talking about AI, you're missing out on some rev gen opportunity. But two, if your conversation around AI is simply selling licenses of Copilot M365 and you're not talking about anything beyond, you're missing out on a lot of additional dollars. And not only is that valuable to you, it is truly valuable to your customer as well, to your client, because to remain competitive, they have to be working faster and more efficiently. I think people often worry that AI is going to replace humans. The truth, and you've probably heard this many, many times already if you're on LinkedIn and other news websites, it's not AI that will replace humans. It's humans who have AI tools at your disposal and know how to use AI that will replace humans that don't. And so for your customers and your clients to remain competitive, you have to equip them with these AI tools, regardless of the industry, regardless of what they're doing, but identify and listen for opportunities where you can also help them in their specific industry or business needs, in addition to just the core AI tools. If your customers are using ChatGPT or Gemini, have those conversations with them about why it's important to get M365 Copilot and how it's important to secure all of that data that they have and not take confidential customer data outside to these other tools that are not tied to your tenant. And if you are not having these conversations, I promise you, Microsoft is bombarding your customers with this. Some other partner is, they're hearing about it on LinkedIn, they're seeing it on YouTube. You can't walk a mile without seeing something about AI and Copilot, or open an email without getting spammed, or seeing something about Copilot. And ultimately, it is your responsibility as a partner, not just to talk about the licenses, but to talk about the art of the possible, and positioning yourself as a partner that can do it. And the beauty of this community that Jeff has with xMonthly is that you are not on your own. and that we as partners and secret agents and services providers are here to help you, and not as a competitor to you, but as a complement to your services, as a part and an extension of your team. And I think that is really where I will probably bring this conversation to an end. You can reach out to me again, and my QR code takes you to LinkedIn, or if you would like to email me, that's my email at the bottom. If you specifically want to know more about, the Copilot, Copilot Studio, and all the cool things that are going on, go to onlycopilotfans.com. You'll probably end up subscribing there because there's such a wealth of information on the various things you can do, workarounds, tweaks, training, and so on and so forth. A lot of different articles. You could probably spend days without getting to the end of all the articles that are available on this website and more. And I will turn this over to you, Jeff, to make your final call about becoming an xMonthly agent, and we wrap it from there.
Yeah, no, AJ, that was awesome. You've covered so much ground, so much territory on here, and really thankful for the opportunity to be partnered up with you, um, and helping make this available for other people to learn. Our goal is to help our partners and agents to continue to learn, be able to help support our clients, work with clients, and just really looking forward to continuing down this journey. Again, this is the second Tuesday, our secret agent briefing. Next week, we have our third Wednesday, which is our CSP briefing, which is a client event to talk about the benefits of AI and Copilot. And then I just want to wish everyone a good Memorial Day weekend. All those things are coming, and we'll see you again here in June. We have our next presenter already lined up and looking to share. So, AJ, thank you so much. Looking forward to attending your
Pleasure,
session
Jeff.
on
Appreciate the
Thursday.
opportunity. Yep.
Thank you. All right, we'll talk soon. Thank you, everyone, for attending.